similar problem to what Dignitas did last time, where, you know, the only magic damage is more burst. TF is not going to kill the Ornn by himself, so you can see Viper just stacking armor, stacking HP, and becoming incredibly difficult to deal with, you know, for those 3 physical damage dealers. That being said, Caitlyn can build Lord Dominix and kill tanks. You know, it's not a Senna over on that other side. It is more of a true hyper carry who actually has the opportunity to deal with that. I do think that Dignitas have, you know, a great 5v5, but very few answers to effectively deal with the side lane. And I think that is going to be their big problem here. You know, not having the confidence to kind of go with fire and go to something like the Jax, which I think would have been a great pick. You know, matches up well with the Olaf, matches up incredibly well with the Camille. I think that's an advantageous matchup. And you can also parry the gold cards from TF. So even if TF attacks you, you have the ability to outplay that. But it is something that, you know, changes the entire play style of your team. So I understand wanting to go more towards comfort with team fighting in the Ornn.
Yeah, even if the Ornn is not particularly awe-inspiring on red side 5th pick, it is at least nice because you don't have to worry about them picking a Braum or having it is rarer, but we've still seen it before with like Yasuo with a wind wall. Anything that can deny the Ornn ulti is very problematic and really cuts that champion's effectiveness down. That won't be present this game. For Dignitas, it's going to be all about forcing those fights, making it so they're winning bigger than TSM is when TSM is trying to make this split push happen. Because as you've already expressed, Camille is really not too afraid of anyone on this squad going up against her in a 1v1. And even if she is, yeah, TF's just going to show up and be like, hey, bro, heard you were having a party. I brought the cards. It's not a good time.
I mean, TF isn't necessarily just going to like kill you in the side lane, but there's not a lot of lockdown. There's not a lot of champions that are going to be able to be super threatening to like, ooh, the Ornn's in the side lane. I've got to play really safe or I'm going to die, right? You know, it's not usually going to be the way it does play out. And I also think that Morgana is a really good answer to the kind of engage that we see over on Dignitas. The Ash Arrow obviously can be black shielded. The Ornn is very obvious and can be black shielded on that ultimate. So Dignitas is going to have to play it out. But that being said, you know, if they are able to hold on in the lanes, if they're able to, you know, force TSM to fight them at dragons, like stack those dragons early, then I think they could get into a pretty good spot because you can put yourself in a position where TSM has to come to you. And if they have to come to you, it doesn't matter if they're better at split push. It doesn't matter if your engage is difficult because they have to fight you with those dragons. And that's where this double marksman, Karma, frontline, Ornn style of play is going to be really, really good.
Oh, I love how we're getting the Tour de Rift here at the start for game number 3. Just taking a look at all these turrets that everybody's going to look to just smack the snot out of and win this game here. Dignitas is do or die time. You win here or you're done. And you and I were having a little bit of a conversation about this before the series even started, about how it makes all the games feel so much more important with the current playoff format.
Oh,
because you can't just say, okay, you know, we're coming into playoffs. Things are kind of rough right now. It's a new patch. Like, just sack playoffs and play for Gauntlet. Can't do that anymore. That's not an option. You lose here, I hope you've got a nice couch because that's where you're going to be until season 2021. This is it. You got to win. And for Dignitas, that line in the sand is right here. You cannot cross it. TSM are starting this game off by going towards the enemy red buff and looking to begin things here with a nice jungle steal for Spica.
It's really nice. It's something where Kindred is so reliant on the red buff for any sort of early game presence. You know, this is a champion that scales incredibly well. It's my most played champion. It's my favorite champion. But to have any real threat of ganks happening, you pretty much have to have red buff. What this also does is actually protects Broken Blade, who is on this kind of more high volatility style champion. He's playing the Camille into the Ornn. If you do not split map like this, then potentially you could have that Kindred coming behind you. You can see that Olaf is actually coming down here, so he won't be in time for the red buff, but at the very least he has been spotted, and we'll see if he can protect the rest of his camps, because Darnox is actually getting really aggressive. And TSM is actually really low here. This is level 1 on them still. If they could get this into the turret really quickly before TSM gets level 2, there is some potential of a dive here, but it would be really risky because those minions are going to give them 2, and I think that means it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Forcing that? Okay, so as fun as it is to think about, man, what if we double killed him under turret at level 1 and you get yourself all hyped up for it? Imagine if 3 people just eat themselves into a turret and die. The series is over. The season is over. The year is over. So I wisely,
Ooh, nice.
I think that Dignitas played that very wisely by choosing not to.
I mean, if they had the push a little bit faster, they had landed a ton of poke. Like, look at double his health. He's so low.
Yeah, it's not much.
And that is why, you know, when I was watching that Golden Guardian series, I'm just like, why can TSM not go towards a poke support? These are the kind of things you can do to Caitlyn Morgana in lane when you pair a lane-dominant poke-style support who doesn't give any care about the Morgana. I was going to say something else, then I thought better.
That's why you're a little world champion. Your brain's able to pivot like that. Just in the moment, you're right there. Making the calls, the audibles, playing it up.
So this is something that they were missing, right? And Dignitas is showing that they have the flexibility in the bottom lane. Aframu has always been a guy who's comfortable going towards, you know, these style of champions. He likes to play the enchanters. He's more known for the playmakers, but he's always been great on the enchanters too.
Spica hanging up here on the top side, not really going to find a whole lot else, just heading back into his river here to see if maybe there's something going on, but I don't really think so. He is down in farm compared to his opponent in Dardoch. We're also going to need to keep track of the Kindred stacks this game, so hopefully as Kindred hits those big points, we can have our producers let us know when she hits every 4 stacks or so we can make sure that we're staying on top of how well she's able to effectively counter jungle and mark those targets. Now, looking forward, we can see that the first Drake that spawns this game is going to be an Ocean Drake. So no Ocean Soul this time around. Things are going to switch up a little bit in that respect. And we'll see if anybody wants to prioritize that one early. It ended up being a big problem for Dignitas in game number 2. Game number 1, they were the ones in control of the early Drake stacking, but TSM was able to answer.
Yeah, and while I do think Dignitas has prio in that bottom lane, and they want to be able to stack dragons to force TSM to come fight them later on, you know, with their 5v5 where they're going to be strong. The thing that complicates this a bit is Olaf is obviously going to be better at actually, you know, soloing out those dragons. And Olaf overall is for sure more powerful than Kindred is in these early game skirmishes. Nice little pull on the minion wave there from Broken Blade, attempting to set up a freeze. And so far, you know, Doublelift down 5 CS, but not that big of a deal. You can see when that binding lands, you ideally want to be able to push a trap down right after that and combo it up. That is why Johnson is moving forward aggressively, you know, zoning Doublelift away, because Doublelift cannot walk through Johnson to do that. You would just lose the trade very hard. It's like, yeah, I got the trap. Well, you're dead, but I got the trap, though.
I took 3 autos and a volley to place this trap that now I can't follow up on, so... Wise words on how to avoid bad lane trades. Don't walk up unless your opponent shoots you. Spica looking for a chance to maybe get involved here. And as Johnson steps forward, that's the sign for Spica to press the go button. Flash coming out from Johnson there, keeping himself alive. But now Aframu wants to go for some CC onto Treats. Black Shield going to prevent that from happening. And Dardoch shows up just to make sure TSM doesn't get too excited down here.
They do force the flash off Johnson. I think the reason we didn't see Treats try to go for a flash binding is that cleanse is still available for Johnson, so it's not really worth trading your flash for the cleanse.
Right.
They probably wouldn't have the damage to kill him, but they get priority off of that on that bottom side. They get the heal, they get the flash, so a nice gank here from Spica. A good job by TSM tracking where the vision would be. That is not a gank you really go for unless you know that there's no wards from Dignitas in that area. So it gives them bot prio, and I talked about how important it is for Dignitas to be able to stack the early dragons. You have the winning bot lane 2v2, and more importantly, you want to be able to force TSM to come to you later on when you are strong for 5v5. This one gank has stopped that. This has given TSM the first dragon. That's already setting back any potential soul, you know, much later into the game. And this is going to buy TSM time later on to split push and play the game at the pace they want to. You know, it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, you can have this dragon, we don't care. You know, whereas Dignitas doesn't want them to be able to have that choice. They want to force their hand.
It's going to be either Mountain or Cloud Soul this game as well, because Infernal is our second spawning Drake this time around. So, Mountain Soul, tragically not the most effective thing to stack if you're on a team like Dignitas, I don't believe. Don't see that accomplishing a whole lot here for them.
Well, I mean, it helps against the dive, right? So, you know, if you're Ashe, having, you know, or Zoe or whatever, or even Kindred, you know, not being able to get one shot maybe by, you know, this Camille and the Olaf flying in there is going to be helpful. But I agree in general. I think for TSM, they would probably prefer to get the Cloud Soul. When you're playing a split push team, having the lower cooldown on your ultimates, as well as just that flat move speed to be able to, you know, play more aggressively in the side lanes and escape out of difficult situations is going to be really, really nice. But obviously, they don't get to choose what they will get. They're going to have to play with the hands, with the cards that they are dealt. So we'll see who's going to be able to stack those dragons and what does come up for us.
Things going well early for TSM here, as they do have farm advantages literally everywhere. They're not huge, granted. I mean, nobody's writing home, Mom, I won the lottery, I'm up 20 farm. It's 3 or 4 here and there.
Get the camera, I'm up 2 CS.
Yeah, the camera's staying in the closet. Nobody's worried about it right now. But there's your Wombo combo with the PC. One more headshot would have been able to kill Afromu, but Doublelift is not in range for it. Ace in the hole! Johnson with the block.
Oh, I think Doublelift could have committed forward for that. That seemed like a mistake from him. You know, he had the flash. It seemed like there was some hesitation. He had the headshot triggered onto Afromu. I think in that situation, you could maybe even, just step forward into the Ashe to try to finish that off, and then you probably still are comfortable to get out, given that you have your summoners. You have all 4 summoners available in that spot. Johnson did not have a flash to follow and really punish that, so still nice laning from Treats and Doublelift. They are, playing a lot better, I think, than they did against Golden Guardians, but I still would say that's probably a missed opportunity for a kill.
Doublelift, I feel terrible for making this joke, but hey, man, sometimes you just gotta save your flash. You might need it for later. Back on,
man. That's like 4 years old.
It's been a while, but
he's already dead. Victor already killed him in the mid lane.
As a North American fan, the pain stays. It follows you through all those years. TSM aren't very much feeling the pain right about now. And a 0-0 game, being up 1,000 gold, tells a good story about your early game. You can see Bjergsen with that Catalyst of Aeons in the inventory, going for the Rod of Ages early on, wants to be tankier here on the Twisted Fate. Viper bonks his head into the wall, doesn't go exactly where he wants to be, and with the Hextech ultimatum coming down, first blood is issued, and it's TSM getting the money.
3-man play up to that top side. Viper getting picked on here. Does go down. Here it is one more time. Viper, trying to get some vision down here. Try to protect himself from a potential situation like this, but Spica is in range. He short changes the dash there. That is honestly maybe what got him killed. I'm not sure if the extra distance would have made the difference there or not, but it's always going to feel bad to have that type of situation. So, first blood over the Camille. Rough.
Yeah, 20 CS up. You can see Viper itemizing towards the early Bramble Vest. And I always like to point this out because early Bramble Vest against champions that can get healing off of fighting you, or that you're going to be dealing with a lot of auto attacks coming out of them. Yeah, it feels good. It's an effective item. But at the same time, it does delay your first item completion because nobody hard rushes a completed Thornmail. So while Viper is still working towards those pieces of things, you can see the Cinder and the Bramble Vest in there, it's already 2 out of 3 pieces of a Trinity Force for Broken Blade. And once he hits that power spike, boy, he is going to be scary.
He really is. And the amount of true damage that you actually get from a Camille can be frightening when you are going for some of these lower HP builds. Like when you do rush the Bramble Vest, you have a little bit less health in the kit. Obviously, it's going to delay your Sunfire, as well as the Abyssal, which I assume he still would go towards. But they're looking for a 4-man play down here on this bottom side. TP coming in from Viper. Doublelift's probably dead.
Nice arrow onto Doublelift. He has the black shield to be able to deny the second part of the Orn Horn, but Treats can't say the same. He will be the sacrificial lamb, but what did he actually sacrifice for? A whole lot of nothing, it looks like, because Johnson picks up the kill. And Dignitas are making some moves across the map. That's what you like to see. Viper saying, all right, top lane sucks. Let's go bottom. Let's make something happen down here. Get some money on the Johnson, and that's exactly what they do.
Really well done there by Dignitas, forcing the play. They had TP advantage. That was really the only thing going for them after Viper did give up first blood on that top side, is he used his TP much earlier than Broken Blade, so it had come back up. But they're going to trade this for a straight-up full tower kill. So that is going to be a monstrous Camille. This might honestly just be Triforce done now at 12 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised.
I believe it is.
So that is
gold.
Yeah, that is scary because, at this point, when Camille gets that far ahead, you can just delete almost anyone over on the side of Dignitas. Let's watch this play one more time. I think they played it out fairly well. Ideally, Treats actually would have black shielded the arrow, of course, but that is fairly difficult to actually react to. The black shield was there for the Orn ulti, but they did end up going down. Here's the play one more time, looking for Phoenix.
All right, we're talking about Broken Blade making the plays. Hextech ultimatum onto Phoenix, who gets away with the flash. He had to use both summoner spells to do it, but he lives through it, and that is so important, making sure Broken Blade doesn't get paid for that ulti again.
Exactly, and I mean that's the TP coming in from Bjergsen. Obviously, you want to go back to lane anyway, but still, ultimate out from Broken Blade, ultimate out from Spica, 3v1, he gets out. It does cost him his summoners, but pretty damn well done by Phoenix. I think he's been having a pretty solid series. Great Zoe game last game, and looking good here to be able to escape that play. You can see that Bjergsen is rushing towards the Rod of Ages this time around, so this is more towards that kind of battle style of TF. He has the stopwatch. Yep. The preferred build these days seems to not be Zhonya's second, but you pick up the stopwatch after your Roa, and then you go towards the Lich Bane, and then after the Lich Bane, you're hoping, okay, you know, I've used the stopwatch for something really good, and now I can kind of upgrade towards that Zhonya's.
Yeah, just the power of the stopwatch to be able to take some mid-game team fight and say, I can port into the stupidest possible spot as long as it gives me a gold card and I'll still live for 2.5 seconds. There's a whole lot of value on that can't be directly equated to gold. You just have to be able to time it correctly. Bjergsen's the kind of player that I would trust to time it correctly and make a play with that stopwatch. First Drake of the game, first Drake of the game did go over to TSM, second Drake of the game over to Dignitas, so now this third one spawning in 3 minutes isn't exactly going to be a soul stack for anybody, but Bjergsen's in some trouble. Flashing away, stays alive for now. More damage coming out from Johnson. And Bjergsen walks away. Both mid laners doing a good job here, Azale, dodging this aggro that's being paid to them so much here. Everybody's sort of taking pages from the book of Faker on how to draw attention and still walk away from it.
Also got to give credit to the teams for the plays themselves, right? Because both plays actually got both summoners off of the mid laner. So, you know, Johnson nails an ultimate, gets the flash, gets the ghost. That is nicely done. The gold lead is essentially just Broken Blade right now, and he is monstrously ahead, a good 1,400 or so gold after this wave over Viper. So you have to remember that he's got to be very effective on this Camille for it to really kind of be worth it, right? You know, if he doesn't have a great team fight, you don't really have a gold lead. Ornn is always going to do something in the fight. You know, you throw out the ultimate and you just tank up some damage and you're pretty darn useful. Camille has got to do more than that. You've got to hit the hook shot. You've got to, you know, find one of those carries and really get something done. It's much harder to execute, but the rewards are therefore usually a lot higher.
And when you looked at the gold comparisons across the other roles there as things switched for a moment, it was gold leads for, much smaller of course, for Spica and Bjergsen compared to their counterparts. But then when you looked at the bottom lane, it was Doublelift and Treats that are behind their opponents. So Johnson is in a spot where he could pop off in one of these team fights on this Ashe that you pointed out in Champion Select. 8 plays throughout the regular season. By far his most played champion. If the man's going to pop off, it will be on this one, as the Rift Herald is used mid lane by TSM to pick up their second turret of this game. They are now 2,000 gold ahead of their opponents. Dignitas likely recognizing that Drake is going to be spawning here in a little bit over 1 minute. You can see a lot of bodies hanging out on this bottom half of the map here, looking to maintain control, sweep things away. Luden's Echo critically completed now for Phoenix before this Drake fight begins, before even the jockeying for positioning starts, which means the poke from those paddle stars will be that much more effective.
Much more deadly, and the game is kind of, you know, just split in half, right? You know, we could see where the teams want to focus their efforts. Spica from the very beginning, you know, starting on the enemy red buff, wanted to play clearly towards the top side. You know, Dignitas on the other side, you know, TPing down and making a 4-man play towards Doublelift and Treats. That's where they have their lead. So they've kind of put their investments in different sides. Overall, I think TSM has kind of gotten the best of it because clearly they're up in gold and more naturally won some of their lanes. But we'll see if Johnson can carry, right? Because they have put the emphasis on him, and he's on a much better champion to really make it happen than the Senna of the last 2 games. I still think game 1 he performed really, really well, having some incredible sidesteps and very good play overall, but you just can't win in the same way. Broken Blade, though, going in for the all-in.
It is Flash and Flash, both committed by these top laners. Viper with some nice CC. Viper with the solo kill. Give him the bonk.
Just gets clapped up. I mean, Broken Blade was down a level, trying to force that all in. Very, very heavily thought he was going to be able to win it. And that is the investment. I just spent the last couple of minutes talking about how TSM put all their effort into getting Broken Blade ahead. You just got 1v1 solo killed by Viper while expending your flash on a fight you chose.
That is just not acceptable. Broken Blade taking that lead and just throwing it right into the garbage. Viper with a wonderful outplay, redeeming himself a little bit here for those first couple of games here on this Ornn now. I like it. Dignitas with signs of life.
He's got a lot of armor. You can't disrespect this type of build. And when you actually get those brittle procs, when you can get the bonks down consistently over onto the Camille, you have a lot of damage. You know, if Camille's on 2 items, it's a different story. Once you have, you know, lifesteal and more durability built in with something like the Death Dance, then all of a sudden it becomes so difficult for Ornn to actually kind of outpace that. But Camille's still relatively squishy. The damage is very high, but just a little bit too hyphy there from Broken Blade. You know, he's not playing Conquer for the extended fight, and it just seemed like he didn't have to force that, you know, because if I'm recalling correctly, Viper was the one who first flashed away, and you could just say, great, yeah, got the flash. Now we'll wait for Bjergsen to come, and we'll kill him together.
Yeah. As soon as the guy flashes over the wall, you call that a win. Thumbs up. Walk away. It's cool. But he was confident. He was a little bit overconfident. We all know that Ornn's damage has been the source of many memes. Yeah, so many memes in the past. So underestimate that at your own peril, ladies and gentlemen, as Dignitas now still down 2,000 gold. They did manage to grab that Drake for themselves. Bjergsen seeing a lot of pressure towards him here in this mid lane, but their opponents aren't really able to force anything onto this tier 1 turret, so he'll stay just fine.
Mm-hmm. And now Dignitas, you know, getting into a much better spot. I mean, they're the ones at 2 dragons. Because that 1v1 went bad for TSM, they decided we're not going to contest this dragon. So that was 2 going the way of Dignitas. The next one means they're at soul point, right? And again, TSM don't want to necessarily take fights at the dragon. They want to play a slower game. They want to play that split push style. So that 1 dev, you know, honestly costs TSM quite a lot. And Broken Blade again going for it, but this time it is the 2v1, not a fair fight.
This time they got backup. Broken Blade has learned the lessons of the previous engagement, but Viper said, oh, no, 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 no. I got my buddy here, too. And with Dardoch showing up, it means Dignitas all walk away.
And Dardoch now, you know, quietly has just been farming away. This is the kind of game that, as a Kindred against Olaf, you are feeling good about your position in the game, working towards the Black Cleaver. You know, that'll put you on the 30% CDR. And when there's kind of these one-punch style champions, you can honestly be very effective with your ultimate. You know, if you're just getting run over and your team is behind, then your ultimate doesn't really do that much because you just kind of die after it. But, like, when Olaf Alton flies in and Camille ults in and, you know, tries to one-shot your Ashe, and you just drop the ultimate on the Ashe as it's expiring, Aphromuth throws down his heal and a Mantra shield. All of a sudden, those frontliners become pretty worthless. You can just kill them off. So unless TSM can really just run over you in a fight, you have chances to be able to turn them around as that Kindred with the scaling that you do have there. So we'll see if Dignitas can make it happen, and if Viper can continue to hold on in these side lanes as he's getting picked on by the soul laners from TSM.
The lead keeps growing for TSM, however. The bleeding has not been stopped. It is now up to a 3,000 gold advantage for TSM 21 minutes into this game. Their tower advantage is really just singing the story of this game here for their squad, as all the plates and all the turrets they have racked up are worth more than the kills that Dignitas have found for themselves. When you're looking at the jungle here, you can see a lot of health on Spica's Olaf, but not a lot of resistances of any kind. So despite the fact that this champion looks like he might be beefy just looking at the health bar, remember that his resistances will go even lower when he Ragnaroks because he will lose the bonus from his ulti. So there's a lot of damage that can be done with the power of Dardoch, Johnson, and Viper firing into him, especially what you're talking about. What happens if Lamb's Respite keeps them alive? What happens if you can't do anything with that ulti and all of a sudden you're stuck a long way from home?
And he is going to be playing more of that utility style, right? Clearly going full tank. He's working towards a Warmog, so I think his job is going to be like, so he's going for some poke. Stand there and take it. You know?
Stand in the way.
Defend me, Squire.
I get punched in the face instead of you. Thus is my job.
Exactly. You know, double if Bjergsen's in. Get in front. Take that hit. So we'll see. We'll see if he can, you know, pull off the bodyguard play for Mr. President, as it were. And TSM are moving over to that Dragon Pit. You can see Broken Blade is behind, you know, looking to set up a potential flank. But this is a fight where, Gold Lead be damned, if Dignitas play it really well, you have the potential to win. You win this team fight, you put yourself at soul point, all of a sudden the gold lead doesn't really matter that much. So they are starting it, and they are just rushing it. Can TSM stop this whatsoever? Spica, I think he's not going to be there in time.
Arrow fired off at Bjergsen to keep him away, and Dignitas are on Soul Point. Viper's in the front line, tanking everything up. He is CC'd for about a year and a half. It's just about over. There we go. Now he's walking away, but Phoenix nearly killed off as well. Viper going back to block that shot. TSM still looking to chase further forward. Dignitas firing off that Ornn horn. Will not get the CC because it is
they're trying to wrap around
by
them.
Spica. TSM still does not want to let Dig out of this one. What is the call here from Dignitas? Spica barely alive still. Dardoch on the front line. Damage coming through. Dardoch is still alive. Broken Blade trying to jump in. Now Doublelift's grabbing the kill onto Johnson. And with the 80 carry gone, Dignitas' chances of winning this fight must just be evaporated. Doublelift takes about 1/3 of his HP.
Bjergsen's going to ult back from base. They're just trying to keep them here forever. They're waiting for Bjergsen to base and come back.
Oh,
this is hilarious.
This is cruel and unusual punishment. They're just making him sit there and wait until
it's fish in a barrel.
Oh no, they're all just standing there waiting for their impending doom. Dardoch is stuck in the Drake pit. He hops over the wall. Bjergsen's rejoined the fight. Doublelift grabbing himself a kill there. Broken Blade getting one on to Afro move. Viper now going to be cut down. Doublelift looking to make even more happen. Bjergsen grabbing a kill too. It is an ace for TSM. Patience is a virtue, and overstaying is a deadly sin. There you go, TSM, and it looks like Baron is on the menu.
A Bud Light ace and a new world record for the longest team fight of all time. Congratulations, TSM. That was actually wild. How long
Just TF things.
They were able to kind of play that out. And honestly, I think they played it very intelligently because the team fighting is really strong on Dignitas. If they just YOLO'd in there, they would have died for sure. They had to play that out very intelligently. And Doublelift was critical for TSM, finding angles along the side here as we do get the replay to always get damage out. Like, look at Doublelift here, full combo, trap into auto reset, into the 90 caliber net for another headshot. He lands the Q following that. He got Viper very, very low, but then his Broken Blades disengage from, they had to play this very slowly, and Doublelift is playing it right on the edge. Played this, I think, very, very well. TSM begins to start to come around here, and Doublelift finds Johnson. This is kind of the critical moment here. As they go forward, TSM barely able to survive that trap that Johnson stepped on. Mistake from him, gets headshot from long range, and with the marksman down, not much chance for Dignitas to really play it out. And they didn't have the flashes to just go over the wall. After was stuck there, they kind of had to just commit to one side, but TSM just played this line of scrimmage and didn't commit in so that they couldn't just fight their way out. They kind of just waited for Bjergsen. He gets back here, then they go in. Dardoch not able to get his ult off, but this is one of those fights where the ult really wouldn't make a difference, where you're losing so hard that the ult just delays your death, doesn't prevent your death. And a really interesting, really well-played team fight from TSM. Sure, some criticism can be thrown the way of Johnson for stepping on that trap, but it felt like TSM had him corralled either way, and now with the Baron buff, 8K in the gold lead, doesn't really feel like it matters that much that you're at Soul Point because you were getting pushed in on all sides.
Yeah, how are you ever going to leave the base at this point? Baron buff still active for another minute and 20. 2,000 gold already earned from your Baron power play there, as TSM just in complete control. After that fiasco in the bottom lane, sticking around for so long and just having the TF show back up to the fight, it's just Disaster Town here for Dignitas. Yeah, you've got
Disaster Town.
Yes, Disaster Town USA.
Population Dignitas.
Population you, brother, as TSM are closing in on his base. Look at the damage onto Dardoch. Now he's having to walk away, a shield down onto him to try to keep him alive. TSM have smashed in that tier 3 turret. They're going for their first inhib now. You've still got Bjergsen hanging out in the top lane, applying split push pressure. Broken Blade doing the same thing in the bottom lane. Isaac, it's almost like you are a professional analyst for this damn video game, because you said in Champ Select they won't be able to deal with TF and Camille in the side lanes, and now TF and Camille are just pushing up and nobody can deal with anything.
They just don't have the wave clear. They can't really play it out from this point. You know, when you're that far down in gold, when the Baron buff is there, Caitlyn Siege is incredible. You have Triforce on one side, you have Lich Bane on the other. If you ever expose a turret, you're going to lose everything. And it looks like TSM may just close the game here because this is the third inhib they're going to go for. Dignitas looks like they want to fight, but that's just Spica.
Oh, and there is no ulti for Dardoch. Recall that that had already been used just moments ago. Bjergsen with a nice stasis, keeping himself safe from the counterattack, showing up from Dig. And with 2 dead on the side of Dignitas, surely enough, this is the end of the series and the end of the line for Dignitas as TSM will put in work on the Nexus turrets. They're gone before I even finish my sentence. TSM will make swift work of Dignitas with a 3-0 victory and will move on to the next round of playoffs.
And that's a series that they can be pretty damn happy about, showcasing multiple different play styles here, being able to bring out and have a successful Nidalee game alongside that set, playing out this split push comp, playing more for the team fight in game number 1. TSM, you know, I think this is a couple games that they can be proud of. You know, Dignitas put up a pretty good fight. Game number 1 especially, they kept it close, but this will be the end of the line for them. You know, no second chances when you start in this lower bracket as Dignitas did, and they just didn't have it in them today to take down TSM. You know, too many little mistakes, and honestly, it just felt like TSM, you know, we're the better team overall. Better laning, better coordination, and honestly, better plans in the draft.
I think a lot of people, almost everyone, was surprised when TSM lost 0-3 to Golden Guardians in the first round. But that seems to have lit a fire under their ass because they are playing much better now, specifically pointing at everyone not named Bjergsen. And I'm not saying that Bjergsen played poorly today. Bjergsen played wonderfully. But everybody else is stepping up now. They're saying, okay, let's get it together. Let's fix these problems. Let's not lose 2v2 bottom lane. Let's not have everybody else making mistakes throughout the game and just play together as a unit. The biggest thing for this series to me was still exactly what you said about changing different play styles, making sure that everybody's able to execute how they need to, depending on what comp they draft. And I think TSM looks like much